Hey everybody, Jimmy here with the Triple C Collective for Sci-Fi Sunday. Again, we're jumping into episode 3 of the Book of Boba Fett, The Streets of Mos Espa. Let me just say, I love Book of Boba Fett. I'm really enjoying it. It's taken a character of Boba Fett who I just thought was fine and has like really made him like interesting, like filling in like a background and like a backstory from him, like previous to what we've seen basically in just the movies, and then a little bit of him showing up in the animated Clone Wars. That's probably like the best thing that they've done. I also like where this just like the Mandalorian. I like the time of when we're in of like the downfall of the Empire and like the destruction and like the fall of that before the First Order and stuff starts kind of kicking off, and like what we see with the sequel trilogy. Um, so it's just a cool time to like kind of be around and like play in and stuff and like learn a little bit more about like the ever growing galaxy from afar far away. And that's probably some of my favorite stuff that like Book of Boba Fett's doing is like making Boba Fett they're making him a more interesting character to me. I like the world that we're living in. I'm really enjoying it, and or like the time of the Star Wars world that we're really living in. I find it to be just like a fascinating time. So I'm really interested just to see more. The first two episodes, again, I've really liked them. I'm a big backer of this show. It's just kind of got me. Like I'm just really enjoying it. Um, so without further ado, let's just dive into episode 3 here. The opening's great. We have a really great shot of like Jabba's palace and like the hills and like the mountains like behind it and surrounding it and stuff. And it's a really, really great like opening establishing shot to this episode. It was really cool. It was really beautiful looking. I really liked it. We also get the really neat little like metal spider that has the little like red liquids and stuff in it. And then then we move into the palace with Boba having his briefing with his droid and Fennec. And basically here we get the droid giving us what happened on Tatooine post the events of Boba Fett going into the Sarlacc pit and Jabba's barge or whatever like being destroyed and like crashing into the sand and stuff. There was a power vacuum in Tatooine. 3 families took over it. Hold on. The Trandoshan's had the Cine Center. The Aqualish had the Worker District. And the Clatonians had the Starport, and I think they said the sprawling areas. So these are the 3 families that are basically running Mos Espa, and like running Jabba's old territory with Bib Fortuna, as they're talking about before Boba killed him at the end of Mandalorian. Seeing them all working together and with like an uneasy peace treaty is what they said, a non like super stable one. But then so there was that power vacuum, and it's really great. It's really interesting. The droid also drops a little bit of knowledge, which makes sense about what we saw in the first episode, that that these families were that, along with Bib Fortuna, were also lining the pockets of the mayor. So that makes a little bit more sense that then after Jabba left, even then Bib Fortuna started paying like tribute to the mayor, because Bib Fortuna really didn't have any power or anything. Just kind of is doing what, but it's actually interesting. It seems to be that Bib Fortuna did exactly what Boba Fett is doing. The difference is that Boba Fett is actually a threat, and that is also really cool to kind of see that happening. And then the last thing they are like discussing is trying to figure out who sent the assassins. Is it the Hutts? What's going on with that? Like who sent the Nightwind assassins? Then they get a visitor, Lortha Peel, aka Milton from The Office, aka Stephen Root, the wonderful Stephen Root. I love seeing this guy show up in anything and everything. Like, He was really great in True Blood, is where I remember last like kind of seeing him show up in TV. I could be wrong about that, but that was like the last time I remember really seeing him pop up on TV. But I just love seeing him, like from Office Space all the way back in like the early to like mid '90s to like now. Seeing him as this as Lortha Peel, this like water Mongol from the worker district. It was really great. It was really awesome. Like his whole little scene that he has here is really interesting because he kind of says he gives you a lot of like what the people are feeling, kind of exposition to Boba Fett about like, well, you know, like there's a lot of disrespect towards you in the streets. Nobody is like honoring the power you have, and like I'm really feeling that disrespect. I've got people stealing my supply, and he's like, "What's your supply is water, right?" And he's like, "Yes, water." And Boba Fett makes a joke about growing up on like Camino, surrounded by water. And then Lortha Peel counters with, "Yeah, Tatooine was once filled with water before the Dune Seas and all of that." And the long and short of it, Lortha Peel is there because he wants Boba Fett to take care of this like street gang of people who keep stealing water from him. And Boba says, you know, I'll look into it. I'll go ahead and I'll get this checked out, because Boba appreciates, to some degree, Lortha Peel's candidness about how people really just think that he's kind of weak, especially with the assassination attempts and stuff. So Boba goes to the Worker District. Worker District is really great. We get to Worker District almost felt very much so like Mos Eisley, like what you would have felt like I mean, I can only assume Mos Eisley, Mos Espa, they're all on Tatooine, they're all on a desert planet, they're all going to be relatively similar looking cities and stuff, just due to the nature of the planet, like literally the weather and stuff that they got going on there. So Boba Fett goes there and he sees the street gang that I was talking to a buddy, was like, man, they've got some really shiny speeders and like bikers or bikes for like being on a desert planet with no water. And he's not wrong. I mean, I said maybe there's an Armor All equivalent to it, but like it's a fair question. It's a fair question. However, these people are stealing water, so I don't know, maybe because they're stealing water, they have a little bit more of it. I don't know. Beside the point. Boba Fett goes to the Water District. We are finally introduced to Sophie Thatcher's Drash here. This is really great. Sophie Thatcher's Drash we saw in the final trailer for the Book of Boba Fett leading up to the Episode 1 premiere. She is now currently being seen in Yellow Jackets, which I have not watched, but I'm hearing a lot of great things, and I should probably get on checking that out. But nonetheless, this is our introduction to her here. She's basically, you know, not yelling at Boba Fett, but letting Boba Fett know, like, what do you expect? There's no work around here. Like, look around. Do you see anyone working? There is no work. That's why we have to steal this water just to survive. Why don't you just go back to, like, your palace and just be a crime lord somewhere else and continue on your way? Don't act like you care about what's happening down here. You just go back up to your palace, which is a really interesting take. And something that, you know, Boba Fett, like, really hasn't, like, heard before. And so then we also get Scott, one of played by Jordan Bolger, I believe is his name. He reminds me of Cyclops from DC Comics and like the movie and stuff, because he's got a thing over one of his eyes. Because that's the other thing about Sophie Thatcher's character Drash and her gang, is that they have replaced body parts with droid parts. So they're like half human, half machines. And so like he just has the one thing over his eye. It just reminded me of Cyclops. Or Cyborg, sorry, not Cyclops. And this is also great. But Boba Fett, you know, appreciates Drash's forwardness and candidness and just being like honest, like, all right, cool, there's no work, you work for me now. Then we get Lorth Peel coming out, and he's like, no, 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 you're just gonna let them go without like paying their tab or anything like that. And Boba Fett's like, how much do they owe you? 1,300 for water. 1,300 credits for water. Fennec, give him 500. Lorth Peel is not happy. He's like, but the bill is 1,300, and it's like, yeah, and it's for water. So take your 500 and consider this resolved. And then Boba Fett and Drash and Scott and the rest of their little biker gang go on and go back to Boba Fett. And Boba Fett then they go back to the palace, but we get that's all before the credit sequence. We get this wonderful like 9-10 minutes all before the opening credit sequence, which is great. Like, I think that's one of the other things that I'm really loving about Book of Boba Fett is that they're just like, they're just letting us like live in this time, and I've really enjoyed the split time frame that we get, which is what we're about to go into. Boba Fett, after the title sequence, Boba Fett goes into back to tank again to like heal and all that stuff, and then he he has a dream about being on Camino, surrounded by water again, and his dad's ship Django leaving, and then we have a true flashback to where Boba Fett is with the Tusken Raiders again, and this is really great stuff. I have loved the flashbacks and showing Boba living with the Tusken Raiders and everything like that. Like, it's arguably, as much as I'm into like what's happening as him being a crime boss, because I find it all just so very, very fascinating of what's going on Tatooine. Because like I have some questions about it, like later on, like possibly like I want to know if via Luke being so connected to Tatooine and stuff, if he's feeling what's going on there at all. Will we see him pop up again? Like, spoilers. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers for season 2 of Mandalorian when Luke shows up at the end there. That was freaking wild. So like, will we see him like come back at any point like that? Will we see any kind of connection to Force wielders or like Jedi or Sith at all in the show? Because if we don't, I'm also totally cool with that. I think that's something, as much as I love the Jedi and as much as I've said that, like, I'm like, you know, Boba Fett really wasn't my guy, like, growing up or whatever, I'm very much so interested in seeing other stories inside the Star Wars, like, galaxy, and that actually don't have to deal or don't necessarily concern themselves with Force wielders all the time, whether it be Jedi, whether it be Sith, whether it be somebody who gets attacked and is just force pushes somebody away from them, and like it just awakens in them. Whatever it is, like, I'm cool with seeing more of that, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna lean. I mean, obviously they're gonna lean heavy into that, into the Ahsoka Tano and the Obi-Wan series, but like the Diego Luna show. Oh God, I can't think of his name. Captain Andor, yeah, Andor, right? His show, like, I'm really interested to see about that, because that's all like from Rogue One, and it was all very heavily non-Force users up until we saw the really cool scene of Darth Vader showing up, which also puts a little bit more context onto why he's so mad at Leia in A New Hope. Like, I mean, he's mad just because they're on opposite sides, but it's like, he's like, no, 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 no. Like, we just did this, and I'm talking about New Hope compared with like the context of Rogue One being in it. He's like, no, 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 we just talked. I know they're here. I know the plans are here. You're lying through your teeth. Shut up and stop. So yeah, then we get Boba Fett back with the Tusken Raiders. Sorry about that little rant that I had there. And we get the Robert Rodriguez dissolve again in this that I really loved. like that green to like the green grainy dissolve into like I don't know the normal color or whatever. We get Boba Fett on the bantha. He leaves. He leaves to go to goes to Mos Eisley to meet the Pikes. Is what we find out. We get a lot of really great. Like the bantha looks really great. We get a lot of really great, awesome like desert shots of him just kind of walking through and all of that stuff. So I really loved all of that. The Pike scene once he gets to Mos Eisley, once he enters Mos Eisley, he sees some Jawas, and he asks the Jawas, he's like, I'm looking for the Pikes. Where did the Pikes do business in Mos Eisley?" And as we see the actual spears with the stormtrooper heads on them that we saw in The Mandalorian, which was really great. And at the same time as Boba Fett then continues, so if I don't know, it's going to be kind of difficult to do this with my hand kind of. If my phone is like where the spikes are, right here's the street and right here's the street. Boba Fett is walking this way, while then on the other side we see Amy Sedaris's I think it's Pelimoto, the mechanic that was helping out the Mandalorian and would watch over Grogu and stuff through those couple of episodes that she was in both seasons. And we see her and her three little droids walking by, going this way as Boba Fett's going that way, and they're like on opposite end, or they're on other sides of like the stormtrooper helmets through the spikes thing. And I was just like, oh, that's really cool. So like now we kind of in the flashbacks, at least, we kind of have an idea now of really the flashbacks have only been from Sarlacc Pit forward while he's been with the Tuskens, other than him being a small child on Camino. Because basically everything in between that you assume you got either via the little bits that he shows up in Star Wars Clone Wars, the animated series, and then obviously with the context of like Empire and Jedi. So it's been really great. I'm loving all of these little blanks that are kind of being filled in for like Boba Fett and stuff, because I really love the Tusken Raider like flashback stuff. I really love the present now. Like I do like that dual storyline. And like I'm always wanting more of both. Like I just want all 7 episodes to be watched right now for myself. Like I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. So then we see, like I said, Amy Sedaris's character walk on by. That's a great little nod to like Mandalorian. Also lets us know like in the flashback wise like where we're gonna be meeting with. Where we're going to be meeting like Boba Fett and Mando and Fennec, because even in the flashbacks, we still haven't seen Boba Fett meet Fennec, which I actually think is going to be coming up here soon, especially with the nod to the Mandalorian with Amy Sedaris's character. Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more of that. Boba Fett enters the Pike compound, and they and he talks with the Pikes, and the Pikes are like, we're not paying twice, the Nikto Sand Riders, like we already paid them protection for that same route. Now you're here saying the Tuskens own it. We are not going to be made a fool. We will not pay protection twice. And Boba Fett assures the Pike leader that don't have to worry about it. This is our route. The Tuskens way outnumber them. I will take care of this with them, and you don't need to worry about it. But you will be paying us forward. And Pike's like, I don't care. I'll do business with whoever, but I'm not paying twice. I'm not paying protection to 2 separate people for the same route for us. Doing business in the Outer Rim, obviously protection comes with doing business out here. I have no problem. The Pikes have no problem with whoever wants to do it, but we need a We are not paying twice. So basically, the Pikes are really just setting up Boba Fett and the Tuskens to fight the Nikto Sand Riders. So like this is really cool. This is a really interesting development. Boba Fett then returns to the Tusken camp to find out that those Sand Riders have actually come and destroyed and burned and killed all the Tuskens at his camp. The camp is destroyed. Boba then does the ceremonial, just like after the in episode 2 when we see them burn the bodies of their dead from the train shooting and like the train heist and all of that. Boba Fett burns all the bodies, all of the leadership, and throws all of their weapons on there as well. And Boba Fett continues on with his bantha, and then I do want to say, I specifically put it here, I do want to say I'm pretty sure then like this is such a win for the Pikes, because while these two people that are supposed to be giving them protection for their route are fighting each other, they can just continually move stuff because they are no matter what protected from either side, whoever shows up, unless like something is released by the Pikes or whatever to be sent to, like, unless Boba Fett finds out that the Pikes were like, no, we want nothing to do really with the Tusken Raiders, we only want you guys. So that'll be all very interesting to see like what happens and what we get from that. But before we get any further, basically in the in his like flashback after the Tusken camp is destroyed and burned, we get Chrysanthemum coming back, ripping Boba Fett out of his bacta tank. Chrysanthemum is here to Chrysanthemum is such a cool character. He like the black furred Wookiee gladiator kind of armor and stuff, like, oh my god, this whole scene is just like fantastic here. Chrysanthemum has his brass knuckles that have the like electric that are electrified, and oh man, that's so cool. And then we see Boba Fett with his Tusken gaff, like his staff, stab Chrysanthemum in the leg, and then take the round part at the top of it and stick it into his back shoulder. Oh man, this fight sequence here is great. Now I do have some questions about it before I dive into it a little bit more. Where the hell is Fennec? Where is Drash? Where is Skad? Where are all of his? Where are the Gamorrean? Where are all of the people protecting him that are meant to be protecting Boba Fett and keeping his little empire and them like safe and like where they are? Like, where are these people? Because ain't nobody there. Like, there's a good 5 minutes of Boba Fett almost dying, being crushed by the Wookiee hug of Chrysanthemum, which is so great. Like, you hear the bones crack, and then you get Drash. You get Sophie Thatcher's character comes on. She's got a little electrified blade herself, and then she stabs Chrysanthemum right in the side, and like that drops Boba, and like he kind of moves over, and then her little gang is fighting Black Chrysanthemum. They have the one like electrified, almost lasso kind of thing they throw on his arm, and he starts tossing them around, and then they start running through the palace, through Jabba's palace, like Chrysanthemum and Boba and Drash and all of them. Then Fennec gets in here. They get into Jabba's throne, or Boba's throne room now, where the Rancor pit is, and that's exactly what Fennec does. Drops Chrysanthemum into the Rancor pit through it. Chrysanthemum bites like one of the Gamorrean guards like on the neck right here, like a vampire or like a werewolf, really. Probably werewolf is probably a better description, because that's Chrysanthemum's more like a werewolf than anything. And so yeah, it's great. It's great seeing him. This was an awesome couple of minutes in this episode. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Such cool fighting, such a great little battle. And then we get the craziest part of this. We get the Boba and Fennec meal. after after Chrysanthemum uh, is trapped in the Rancor pit, can't do anything, can't escape out of there. Um, he can't do anything in there. Good to go. Boba Fett and Fennec are eating. They're trying to figure out what they're gonna do. Who sent the Nightwind? Who sent Chrysanthemum? They need to figure out. They need to figure out who sent it, and then they need to figure out their response to it. And as they're having like their meal, like Fennec is saying like, yeah, I absolutely agree. We need to do this. We need to figure this out. Do we think it's the Hutts? Do we think it's the mayor? We need to figure some things out here. And then, like, because we've got to send a message. And Fennec is like, I agree. I want to send a message too. Then the droid comes in and interrupts them and says that the twins, the Hutt twins, are here. And they have a gift for you. And that's exactly what they do. And this is another crazy scene that happens because now and up until this point, we know that the Hutt twins have been trying to take claim to Jabba's old territory that Boba is now sitting upon. And the twins have come and they're straight up right away. They're like, we apologize. We sent Chrysanthemum after you to try and kill you to take this land. We apologize. We just want we're leaving. We relinquish all claim to this to you. It is all about you. You are fine, and it's all really, 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 really interesting. It was crazy to see all of that because this is like such an about face for the Hutt twins, but then we learn about why. We learn that both the Hutt twins, and Boba Fett were both lied to. And Boba Fett's like, what do you mean we were lied to? The Hutts say that this territory, we were lied to about the openness, like availability, not openness, availability of this territory. The mayor, the spineless, like scumbag or scumball that they call him, has promised this area, this territory to another syndicate. And Boba Fett's like, another syndicate? Who? This is interesting. And then we get the announcement from the Hutts that Boba Fett that the mayor is giving this territory to the Pike Syndicate. The same syndicate that killed his Tusken brethren not that long ago. The same ones that he could be still seeking revenge on. The same ones that he could have come to terms with. I'm pretty excited to see like what kind of happens here with all of this. The other half of the twin visit is that we get a Rancor again. The gift that they bring Boba Fett is a new calf Rancor, which is so cool. It's so cool to see the Rancor back again. The Rancor Keeper is none other than the fantastic and amazing Danny Trejo. I love Danny Trejo showing up in anything. The fact that Robert Rodriguez is a part of this show only makes sense that Danny Trejo shows up in it, because I believe Robert Rodriguez and Danny Trejo have worked in almost every single movie Robert Rodriguez has done, except for El Mariachi and The Faculty. Pretty sure those are the only two movies, like actual movies that he directed. I don't really count Robert Rodriguez's portion of Four Rooms that he directed, like that wasn't like a full movie. He did a segment of it. But neither here nor there. I don't think Danny Trejo's in that either. But like El Mariachi and The Faculty, I'm pretty sure are like the only two movies in Robert Rodriguez's like writing and directing where Danny Trejo doesn't show up. Sin City might be another one. So like 3 out of his entire career. Insane. Those two work together all the time. I love seeing those guys together and working together. It's so much fun. Like those Machete movies are incredibly over the top and amazing. Go check them out. They're a lot of fun. Spy Kids, if you want to watch something with your kids that are really cool, like those Spy Kids movies are still pretty sweet. I still enjoy those, and I'm excited to see how my daughter will. She's only 2, but I'm excited to see how she'll respond to those movies as well. Because that's the other thing. Robert Rodriguez went from making a $7,000 indie film to making a kids franchise. So like he's done a little bit of everything here, and so seeing him being allowed to play in the sandbox of Star Wars has been just like so great and so much fun, and I'm just loving every little bit of it. But then we get the last little bit here with the Hutt twins. We get the Rancor calf as a gift. The Hutt twins are giving up any claim to this area because they don't want war with the Pike Syndicate. It's not worth it to them and like the rest of the Hutt business. It's not a good play for them, so they're just leaving. Then they also say that they give Chrysanthemum as tribute to Boba Fett and Fennec, and they also then leave him with the last little bit of advice of saying you should leave too. It's not going to be worth it. And it's so great. I just love it. I also love here where Boba Fett doesn't hold anything against Chrysanthemum. Like, he lets Chrysanthemum go. He's like, take his shackles off. The Hutts released him to me. Let this dude go. And they're all kind of like, what? And Boba Fett talks to him. He's like, hey, I get it. It's part of the business. I was just a job. No hard feelings. But from one bounty hunter, from an ex-bounty hunter to a current one, from one bounty hunter to another, don't work for skugholes like them. Only bad things will end up happening when you work with them. And because, Boba Fett ended up by working with Jabba, by getting Han Solo put into the Carbonite and back to Jabba, he ended up in a Sarlacc pit. So yeah, working with the Hutts doesn't necessarily always end well for people. And then he just lets Chrysanthemum go. Like, just let him go back out there, which is cool because maybe we'll see him show up in Mandalorian. Maybe we'll see him show up in Ahsoka Tano. Now that we know he's in this universe, like, of Star Wars, like, aside from just, like, the comics, like, it's been really cool to see him be brought in from the new Marvel comics. It's been great. Then we get the Danny Trejo training the Rancor, which is awesome. Like, we learn Rancor's imprint on the first humans that we see. Boba Fett does like the real Mandalorian thing that is a total callback to. Before I move on to the Rancor training, the one thing about Boba Fett letting Chrysanthemum go really made me feel. Really echoed the lead with respect, not fear kind of thing. Like, he respects Chrysanthemum as a bounty hunter. He gets the idea of the job of a bounty hunter, but now that job is over, you F off and leave me alone, is really great, really awesome. So yeah, I've been loving it. I've been loving every little bit of this. The Rancor training. We get Danny Trejo again, being just awesome, giving us so much awesome, like, kind of background and new information about Rancors. This particular calf that he has was bred from 2 champions, specifically for fighting. Danny Trejo kept this calf for himself because he really wanted to train it. We also learned that calves are fairly loyal and actually loving. Boba Fett's like, what's wrong with this calf? Because it looks kind of sad. And, Danny Trejo's like, it's depressed. And Boba Fett's shocked that a creature of this size and stuff can feel like these emotions and stuff. Then Boba Fett says, I want to ride it, which is really awesome and has the echoes of the Mandalorian and Din Djarin and with Quail doing and riding the blurgs. And like, we hear from Quail that Mandalorians historically and like their history and everything are these great riders and these great like beast tamers and stuff. And Boba Fett, we did learn, like, because, in Mandalorian Season 2, when Boba Fett and Din meet, like, Din Djarin's, like, ready to, like, steal Boba Fett and take Boba Fett's Mandalorian armor back. And Boba's like, no, this is my father's. This is history. I don't follow the ways of the Mandalore, but this armor is mine through, parental passage, which is part of like the part of Mandalorian like religion, the way, I guess, however you want to look at it. So like that was all really cool, and then seeing this here, like riding the Blorgs, really reminded me of that. So we got a lot of like callbacks, I feel like, to and trying to connecting to the Mandalorian in this episode, which almost makes me feel that maybe we'll see the Mandalorian in Book of Boba Fett. Like, if this becomes a full-on war with the Pikes, can only assume Boba Fett's going to bring in the Tuskens. He's going to call in Din Djarin because he needs another fighter. It'll be interesting to see. It'll also be interesting to see if he calls in Din, would we get the New Republic showing up here to fight on behalf, knowing that Tatooine is the home of Luke Skywalker, and that it should actually be protected? Could that be something that they do in here? I don't know. There's cool things happening. But after this, the Boba Fett hears back from the mayor, and the mayor says it's going to be 20 days until he can meet him. So Boba Fett and Fennec go and see the mayor. The mayor, we get the mayor's Major Domo, David Paskey, and oh man, he's so great. He's so funny. You better, like, Fennec's like, you better choose your words wisely, as he's like, oh, he's not available, he's got a tight schedule, let me see if I can rearrange some less important things to clearly help you guys and deal with what you guys need to right now. That's all really great and really awesome. I really love this. And then the Major Domo goes into the back room, locks the door, and runs away. Escapes off into his little speeder. Fennec opens up the door, hacks, rips it open with a knife, and then like hot wires it. Opens up the door, and it's crazy awesome. This starts off the last little bit of the episode that we see here, and it's so cool. We get a chase scene from the mayor's office. The Major Domo's gone in his speeder. Drash and Scad and the biker gang, the new biker gang that have just joined the ranks of Boba Fett and Fennec, they're off to the races. They're chasing through the streets, destroying different things. It's awesome. Then we also get, through this chase, we get them like riding up on buildings, going through a mural. The mural is awesome because it's like the last time we saw like Jabba the Hutt, like with power and stuff in his palace and stuff. It's a beautiful little mural and everything. Then we get the shot. We get the Major Domo crashing into a complete fruit stand after Scott and another guy like kind of rip up his engines a little bit. We got Drash, who kind of jumps on him and like from a high, like goes up a ramp and like comes down on him. He crashes in there. His speeder won't start again. Then we get the like turn and skid from Drash that we get of like in that final trailer that led up to the season 1 opening. Then we get Boba Fett coming down from his jetpack and stuff, and the mayor's Major Domo lets Boba Fett know that, the mayor's gone. He's with the Pikes. Don't know anything else, but he's working with the Pikes. He is with the Pikes. He is working with the Pikes. Kind of has this little like freak out. Then we get Scott on his bike, reporting back to Boba Fett and Fennec that the Pikes have landed from the starport. There's about a dozen of them. Fennec says, this is the beginnings of war. Are you ready for this? And Boba Fett's like, bring on war. And the episode cuts, and it's great. And I have loved every little bit of this episode. This is so cool. This episode really pushed the like story forward. And I'm really loving the story. I love the idea of having Danny Trejo now show up every once in a while in another episode or something as like the Rancor trainer. I'm really excited to see like Boba Fett. What I want to see now, I want to see it. Please give it to me. I hope you guys, I hope the powers that be have already decided to give me this. Boba Fett riding a Rancor, leading a Tusken army against the Pike Syndicate. That's what I want. Oh my god, that would be so cool. Like, my mind's just kind of blown with that idea. I hope they give it to us. I want it. I want it so badly, please. So I'm running a little bit long. I try and keep this as long as the episode. This episode was about 38 minutes, and I'm already at 40 minutes. So I am going to wrap this up. This episode, again, directed by the wonderful Robert Rodriguez, written by Jon Favreau. The DPs, the guys who shot it, were Dave Klein and Paul Hugan. I love this show. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really loving the story and the time frame that they've set up here. I love the Boba Fett backstory, and I'm loving the justice for the Tusken Raiders of making them more than just kind of like monsters. And they started doing that a lot in Mandalorian. I like the exploration of that here in Book of Boba Fett. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens next. This is episode 3 out of 7, so we're almost halfway there, people. We're almost halfway there. I want to thank you again for joining us here at the Triple C Collective and me, Jimmy, on Sci-Fi Sundays for our Book of Boba Fett episode 3. I hope you guys stay safe. Have a great day.